Hello, this is Robert Polenic, the owner of Brutal Iron Gym. I'm here for another video in the Ask Rob video series. So today's question came from one of the members of the gym. They had noticed that when they were squatting on their heavier weights, their hips would kind of shoot out to the side when he was coming back up. So he would go down, and then as soon as he started to come back up during a squat, his hip would kind of shoot out to one side. And he was asking me about how to fix that. So this member, when he squats, I've never seen him squat before, he actually squats with a really narrow stance. So his feet are actually about directly underneath his hips. So they're not even like shoulder width, it's kind of directly underneath him. And he's very flexible, so even with a very narrow stance like that, he's able to get well below parallel. So basically my recommendation for him, and for anybody else kind of using that same stance and they're having issues with their hips, is to just take a wider stance. So what's happening with his hips in that position, like where his feet are so close together, he's actually not creating he's not actually able to create any torque in his legs, like in his femur bones, his leg bones. He's not able to create any torque that will allow him to actually use his hip muscles. So therefore, his hips are kind of unstable at the heavier weight. So if he gets his feet out wider, about shoulder width, or actually maybe even wider than shoulder width, what it's going to allow him to do is, as he puts his feet into the floor, he can actually pretend about trying to twist his feet outward. And what it does, it actually aims towards like kind of pushing your knees out to the side. So what this does, it actually creates a lot of torque in the legs. And what that'll do is it'll keep his hip muscles very tight. So it'll allow him to have better control over his hips when he's squatting up and down. So basically, form-wise, what you do is, as long as everything else is correct, as long as his back is straight and all that other stuff. So if he's able to push his knees outward on the way down and push his knees out on the way up, it'll make sure his hip muscles stay engaged, and he'll get a better recruitment in his glutes. So it'll actually allow him to have better control over his hips. So one of the things you can also do is he can learn how to do some box squatting. So what that'll allow him to do is get more comfortable with a wider stance. So sometimes when people change their stance up, they have problems getting down to depth. So they'll try to go down to parallel, but it just feels odd because with the new stance, kind of the muscle sensations are different when they're trying to get down to parallel in the squat. So doing some box squats where you have a box set at parallel, or actually maybe like an inch below parallel, it'll allow him to have a very consistent depth, and it'll actually allow him to retrain his mind-muscle connection to where parallel actually is. So you can do a few workouts, maybe a month, maybe 2 months of box squatting, and that'll allow him to get that feeling back and actually allow him to get comfortable with the new position in squatting. So I actually do this with new members as well when we're just trying to learn how to squat. I have them start by doing box squats, and then also I do this with people who come to me and they have a history of squatting, a history of training, but they don't squat to parallel. So they're one of the people that just kind of does a little bend at the knee, but they only go 2 or 3 inches down, and they squat back up. And they're probably the same people that say they can squat about 300, 400 pounds, but they're actually only moving about 2 or 3 inches, so it doesn't actually count as a squat. So if they're trying to learn how to squat actually to parallel, whether it's a beginner, somebody trying to change their stance, or somebody who's trained for a while but they're actually trying to learn how to do it the right way, box squats can be very helpful. So if you're trying to learn how to do box squats, there's many resources you can find online for free. So there's one website I send people to called tnation.com. So it's www.t-nation.com. And if you go to that website, they have a lot of articles. And I believe somewhere on the top right side of the page, there's probably some kind of search function. So you just type in box squat, and there'll probably be a couple dozen articles because the website's been up for a few years. So just try to find one that's kind of, it describes itself as kind of a how-to article. So it'll say how-to box squat. And then you can just read through that article, and there's a lot of articles on their website that will be very useful with learning how to do any type of squat. Also, they have articles about bench press, deadlift, other forms of exercises, some nutrition information. There's a whole lot of information on that website. So, but that would be a good resource to find for articles. If you learn better through a visual stimulus, there are some good videos on YouTube. So one of the best videos I send people to learn how to box squat is it's a video produced by Elite FTS. So it's actually titled So You Think You Can Squat. So it's like a 4-part video series, and again, if you go to YouTube, search for So You Think You Can Squat, you'll find the video series where they break down a person's form. They start with even how to get under the bar, like get empty, and then how to position your body while doing a box squat. So they start very basic and work their way up to doing full real reps. And they'll also talk about some accessory exercises that help build up the strength in the box squat. So again, like I said, you can go to tnation.com, or you can go to YouTube and search Elite FTS, or you can search So You Think You Can Squat, and you'll find information for box squats there. Another just general helpful resource on YouTube is if you go to the YouTube page titled Super Training 06. So just type in Super Training 06. It's a free page, run by Mark Bell, who's a powerlifter out of California. And the YouTube channel there, Super Training 06, has well over 1,000 videos. A ton of free information about squatting, benching, deadlifting, nutrition, accessory exercises, even stuff about like mindset, proper mindset you need to train. It's a really cool resource and a lot of free information there. So that's a nice one to check out as well. So also Mark Bell, he sells a powerlifting-based magazine. It's called The Power Magazine. So you can check that out. It has a lot of information about proper lifting for strength training, as well as stuff about nutrition. It has stuff for females, for males, cardiovascular training, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's a very cool resource. I believe you can check it out at thepowermagazine.com or his website, which is called www.howmuchyoubench.net. So you check that out, and you can get a subscription. So the magazine that's bi-monthly. It comes out every 2 months. And I think for a year subscription, which is 6 magazines, it's only like $20. So it's really cheap, and it's an insane amount of good information. And a lot of its contributing writers are all professionals or very high-end amateurs. They're very well-experienced people, so it's a really good resource. So again, you can check that out for just general information about strength training. So again, if you're having problems with hip weakness in the squat, or if your hips are kind of shooting to one side or the other, like I said, you can start by learning how to do proper form for box squatting and getting a wider stance. That'll help you really engage the hips, and you can do it safely with the box squats. So one other exercise I actually use for clients is a walking lunge. So we just do it with body weight. But what that does is it gets them into kind of a stretched position. So, and again, it depends on if the client is actually healthy enough to do walking lunges. If they have bad knees, or they're just not very strong for their body weight, we skip this and work up to it. But walking lunges do help. So eventually you can get somebody doing weighted lunges with maybe some dumbbells, maybe a chain around their neck, or like a safety squat bar. So the walking lunges have helped. But again, you have to make sure you're healthy enough to do those. So in general, that's all the information you would need. So to get your hips stronger, try a wider stance, learn how to do box squatting, and take it from there. So you'll find out within a couple months of box squatting, the hip strength will come up quite a bit. So again, as with any lift, like if you're trying to improve like deadlift, trying to improve bench, or maybe any other exercise, really the first thing you want to do is take a look at your form. So make sure you're doing your form correctly. And like I said, tnation.com is a good resource. I know bodybuilding.com, they have an exercise database that has some good resources for how to learn how to do exercises properly. So there's a lot of resources out there if you know where to look. So again, hopefully that helps. So you can find more videos from Brutal Iron Gym on our YouTube page. Just search for Brutal Iron Gym. You can also check out our website, which is www.brutalirongym.com. You can check us out on Facebook if you search for Brutal Iron Gym. Okay, hopefully this video helped, and there'll be more to come in the future. Thanks.